guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Inspiring Millennial series. I'm really excited because today we have Angela Ford here with us. So, hey, Angela.
Hello.
So Angela is a published author as well as a digital marketing strategist, and I think she's the definition of a multi-passionate millennial. How many industries did you work in exactly?
About 4 or 5. It's been a lot.
And that was all before the age of 25, right?
Absolutely. Yep. So, sports, daycare, healthcare, working in like retail as well. It's been so much.
So kind of how did you make the transition from all of these careers to working for yourself? Like, what made you quit your 9 to 5?
Yeah, so really what made me quit my 9 to 5 was one of the questions they always ask in interviews, and most of my interviews is where do you see yourself in the future? So whether that's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's a very popular question. And one of the things I was thinking about at my last job, I was, going into work every day and making great things happen. And it was good. It just wasn't awesome. And I sat down one day and I was thinking about it and I was like, where do I want to see myself in 5 to 10 years? And if I'm doing exactly what I'm doing right now, will that take me to where I want to go? Like, will I be happy with my lifestyle in 5 to 10 years if this is what it looks like? And I thought really hard about it. And the answer was no, it just wouldn't be what I wanted to do. I just did not have enough time to do the things that I really wanted to do in life. And I was like, well, I guess it's time to quit. And of course, it wasn't something that I didn't have that epiphany and go ahead and quit my job the same day. That did not happen at all. It took time. But
About how long would you say?
the first time I thought about it, it was about a year from then. And then when I started thinking about it again, it was 3 months after that I finally just threw in the towel and was like, okay, I quit. I'm going to go do what I really want to do with my life.
It's amazing. Did you have any kind of sort of safety net while you were going through this transition?
So yes and no. So yes, I had a safety net as in I had clients already. So I quit my job in 2015, but I've been freelancing since 2013. So I already had clients. I'd already been able to establish myself a little bit and establish a reputation. So that was good. And they had more work coming in. That would eventually turn into full-time work. So I did have that in place. I didn't necessarily have like a huge financial buffer in place. So that was a little scary right there.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a really important point because usually when people are thinking about quitting their 9 to 5, you have to have one of those two things. You have to have either the financial buffer, the emergency fund that really has 9 months worth of income in there to make a living to get by, or you need to have had that side hustle going for a couple years like yourself where it's like, okay, I know I have an existing market that I'm going to be able to pull income from steadily right off the bat. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, so when you quit, is that about when you published the book while you were freelancing during that time? When did publishing this book happen? And where did the idea for that start?
Yeah. So the book publishing happened about 6 months later after I quit my job. But the ideal for it came from when I was in my childhood. So growing up, I had 4 sisters. So I was one of 5, which was really fun. And my parents were fantastic. They encouraged us to read and use our imaginations. We really didn't spend a lot of time like with electronics or on the computer or playing video games. And we had each other to play with, which was fantastic. And that's one of the things I love about having a larger family is that I always had siblings to play with. Even when we were really bored and it was raining outside, there was always something to do. So we used to make up stories and tell them to each other, and that's really where the ideal for writing my novels came from. And I actually started writing them when I was 12 years old. I hand wrote the first draft to the first book, and then I typed it up on a computer. It is about 200 pages long, and that was the very beginning. And after that, I finished writing the entire series before I graduated and went off to college. So that was really my teenage years. I was just writing these novels. And they are epic fantasy novels. So it really appeals more to the fantasy fans. It's very unrealistic, very fun, lots of adventure. Just a story to take you away from, life and the everyday.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like the perfect escape. That's
Yes.
amazing. So, at what age did you become a published author?
Not until, okay, so I was 27 when I published the first book, The Five Warriors. So I actually published it on my 27th birthday because that was a day that everyone was already, paying attention to me, telling me happy birthday. So it made a lot of sense to have the book release party on that day, as well as my birthday party, kind of tie that all in together. And that was incredible. I I was blown away by how supportive everyone was. Everyone came to the party. They all bought books, sold me out on that one
That's
day. It was a
amazing.
ton of fun. But it was a lot of marketing that went into it because I'm a self-published author. So I had to go through, I had to find an editor and have my work edited because I love writing, but I'm not an editor. I always need someone else to go over it.
I agree.
Yep, yep.
So that's awesome. So you hired an editor, you self-published through all this, and I got to imagine during that entire journey you started to learn a lot about the marketing side of
Oh,
things.
absolutely. I have been doing a little bit of marketing for my freelance clients. Some of it was pretty large scale, but some of it was smaller. So this really was my biggest marketing campaign that I was taking on. So it was right after I quit my job. I was like, okay, this book publishing is coming up, and I was working with a designer on what that looked like and some of the marketing collateral. But really putting together that marketing campaign and then going ahead and implementing it was huge and it ended up being a ton of fun. Like there'd be different days where I'd be sitting looking at it and I was like, am I going to reach my goals? What else do I need to do? Let me think. What can I do to make this go further? Who can I reach out to? What kind of posts do I need to be putting on social media? What kind of networks do I need to be tapping into to really make this book go further? Do I need to do ads? So just a lot of questions I asked myself. A lot of things that I did mainly with online marketing and a lot less with the in-person marketing, but it was a mix of both.
What would you say? Because I think a lot of people that are probably watching this want to create an online business or an online side hustle. And social media, there's so many platforms now, and there's so many different routes to go with online
Mhm.
marketing. What would kind of be your advice to that person that's looking to do that?
Yeah, so one of the things that really helped me was first of all starting out setting all of my goals and not just general goals but very specific goals. So the biggest thing I did with my book was say, okay, how many books do I want to sell in how many days? And whether those were sales or whether those were free books that I gave away, the number I had in mind was 2,000 and I wanted to reach that in 90 days. So that right there was the big goal. And those 90 days were between, publishing it on September 9th and then 3 months after that, I should hit my goals. So that was a big thing. And then the second thing was, okay, now that I have a goal in mind, I need to have a plan for it. How am I going to reach that goal? And of course, in order to reach 2,000 people and have them actually download either the free book or actually purchase the ebook or the paperback, I have to reach much more than 2,000 people. So I was trying to think, if I can, sort of impact about 10,000 people, those 2,000 will definitely be a lot easier to, they're the ones that are going to take actions versus that other 8,000. They're just going to sit around and go, that's cool, whatever. So,
It's true.
yes, yes. So having goals and then having a plan and just writing out that plan. And I also worked with, I didn't do it alone. I also worked with a success coach for some of the book marketing. She had already released a book earlier, so she kind of had some of the pros and cons, some of the things she did that were great, and some of the things she did that were not so great. And then there were a lot of Facebook groups I was a part of, and that helped as well because I could ask questions, I could ask people to support, and I could just like kind of talk about, hey, I'm trying to do this. Do you have any suggestions? And that was really cool crowdsourcing it because, of course, people have all kinds of ideas, and then I could go back and look at them and go, okay, that was a cool thing this person said right there. Is it going to help me reach my goals? And that really is the focus of it, taking everything that people are suggesting, everything that's out there, and going, is it going to help me reach my goals? If yes, let's do it. If no, let's put it on the back burner as a good idea, but not for this season in my life right now.
Totally. When you were in these Facebook groups, did you ever get stuck with either like perfection paralysis or just totally feeling overwhelmed or scared? Because they can be pretty overwhelming sometimes.
Yes, it. It's enormous. So the big thing I think was so my book cover, that was a huge thing. I did like ask for some feedback on it, but not a lot. So with the Facebook groups, some of the questions that I put out to them, they were just very general things. They weren't things that really needed um, a lot of input in order for me to move forward. So with my book cover, the people that I chose to look at that and review that, I had about 10 people that were in my own inner circle because it wasn't something that I wanted a ton of people on Facebook weighing in on because everyone has so many different ideals and opinions, and where they're coming from isn't exactly a place that I would trust with the mission of my book and the book cover and what I was trying to happen. So it was very easy to get overwhelmed. And I think if I had like posted my book cover in a Facebook group and asked for a ton of feedback, I would have just been blown away and I would have doubted myself and I would have thought, I don't know.
I've totally been there. I've had to put myself on Facebook group
Uh-huh.
bans for months at a time because there's just so much information that it almost kind of stalls your
Yes.
creativity or your own self-expression. So, really good advice. Pick and choose what you want feedback on in
Yes.
there and really look at it with an objective point of view. Because a lot of people are trying to sell it or market their own products while giving you advice. So, really filter through that with a critical eye. And so, when you hired that success coach, was that your first time working with a coach or your experience with a coach?
It was. It was my very first time working with a coach, and she was focused on it was a write your book in 100 days program. And I already had the first draft of my book done. It really was just, I needed that accountability to help finish that book and really get it to be complete. And I ended up going through 5 drafts. So it went through a lot of revisions. And
Wow. Yeah.
that book grew. It was ridiculous. Like when I first finished it, I think it was about 90,000 words. And by the time it was absolutely complete, it's about almost 120,000 words, which was quite long, quite intense. But yeah, it was really helpful working with her because it was a group coaching session. So she had a call every single day that we could listen to, whether that was 5 minutes long, 10 minutes long. And then we had our assignments, just basically go and write, go to your corner and sit down and make sure you write, set your timer and go for it. And then she also had recommendations for the marketing. Every day doing something on the marketing plan. So writing it out and then adding to it and then doing something to help the book promotion process. So that was extremely helpful. I like that.
That was awesome. So, is that kind of when you started to get the idea to become a coach yourself? Or how did you start adding on more of the digital marketing strategist part of your business?
Yeah, so I already had like immediately when I uh, quit my job, I was already doing a lot of that already for clients. I just wasn't being as vocal about it as I needed to be. And I actually focused more on building websites for people because that was a little bit easier for me instead of taking a lot of, my ideals and energies. I was really focused on my marketing my book. But I did have more people coming on as they saw the book marketing process and as I was going through that, because that really added to my experience. I could say, I did social media for this, or, I did this book launch campaign and these were the results. These were my goals. Just different things like that just really gave me the edge and just built up my reputation online. So I was doing that all along. It was almost like running 2 businesses,
Yeah.
the book and then working with my own marketing business. And I actually hired a business coach to help me focus on not the book marketing. I hired a business coach to help me focus on my digital marketing business and help me grow that and put everything into place because it was going along, but it wasn't ramping up as fast as I needed it to. So that really helped as well. And then after the book launch in September, I really dug in and focused more on the digital marketing aspects of the
That's
business.
amazing. Amazing. And so, what I kind of love about your story is because a lot of the times, if you go onto like Facebook groups or you're Googling how to start a business, they really, really push on you find one niche and really blossom in that niche
Hmm.
and cut back on some of these other interests and other passions and things like that. And you, while doing that, also kind of weren't doing that, which I kind of love. So, like, while you were proving yourself as an expert in the self-publishing realm, you also still had your freelance stuff that was paying the bills in that meantime. And then eventually you were able to kind of merge the two, which I love because I think for so many people that are multi-passionate millennials out there, it's hard to say, well, this is my passion project,
Hmm.
but this is how I need to make a living, and how does it fit together? And you're living proof of how it could work and how it does fit together. So it's so cool. I'm super excited about this. So in all of that, what was the greatest challenge or challenges and struggles that you faced?
Oh, I think one of those actually is what you're saying. Like, it's really hard just being passionate about so many different things and how to explain that to someone. Because if someone comes up to me and they go, "Well, what do you do?" I'm like, "Okay, well, okay, let's see. I do marketing, I build websites, I write novels, I love fantasy, blah, blah, blah." And just, it's just like this overwhelmed. They're like, "Okay, well, wait,
So
what?"
how do you kind of do you only tell certain parts based off of what you think they want to hear, or what? How does that elevator pitch essentially sound?
Yeah, so I do kind of tell certain parts, but I kind of wrap it all together. So now when people ask me what I do, I tell them I focus on helping creative entrepreneurs spend more time doing work they love. Because I'm a creative entrepreneur myself. I love writing novels. And so my goal is to write novels and then market them. And that marketing piece really is where my expertise come in because I've found a lot of success marketing my own work. So my goal is to help other creative entrepreneurs do the same thing. And it really is a lifestyle business. It's about doing the things that I actually want to do and I'm passionate about and combining them with something that actually brings in consistent revenue. Because the book publishing does bring in revenue, but it's not at that, it pays some of the bills, but not a lot of the big bills. So you need something, you need to combine it. And it really is all about having several different streams of revenue coming in, not just one or two, which in more the traditional workforce, you do have more like just one stream of revenue, which is why if someone gets fired from their job or if they get laid off or there's no longer a place for them, it's such a huge, scary thing because they're like, "Oh, I don't have any income at all." And then with being an entrepreneur and having several streams of revenue, if one stream goes down, it's like, okay, well, I still have revenue coming in. That's okay. I need to do some work to, get another stream of revenue coming in or pull from, one of the other ones and make that a bigger resource of revenue. And that's really what I love about it. And that's what I tell people. It's all about the lifestyle. Can I do the things that I actually want to do and passionate about and still be able to make that income?
Love it. And the structure of it's fantastic. Who you help, how you help them, and why you do it. Allowing them to self-identify as is this me? So it's an awesome way to kind of take all these complicated things into a really narrow focus. And so I guess in like kind of the final moments of this, what would be your number one piece of advice for the multi-passionate millennial out there?
My advice is just whatever you want to do, start doing it now. Even
Yeah.
if you don't think you have a lot of time for it, carve out, 10, 15 minutes in your day to start doing the things that you really want to do. And it's all about the small steps. I know it sounds like, something huge. Like if you want to make a drastic lifestyle change, you need to quit your job, you need to go out there and, start finding new streams of revenue, but it really is all about the small steps. And that's really what I found with writing novels. It's about you spending those 10 to 15 minutes every single day and turning that into a habit. And they say it takes 21 days to
Yep.
turn a new habit into like a habit that you actually keep. So that's what I focused on. And it helped a lot. And there were some days, like definitely, I wrote nothing. And there were other days where I wrote 100 words, and some days where I wrote 1,000 words. And I was like, "Oh, I'm killing it. This is awesome. I've got so much done." But it's all about starting. And I think we always come up with so many different excuses as to why we can't start. And I have tons of excuses. Like I can always make up excuses. I'm like, "Oh, I'm really busy. I'm not motivated. I'm not inspired. I can't write today." Just all different kinds of excuses as to why we can't do something that we absolutely want to do. But it's about kind of powering through those excuses and starting. And then if you miss a day or you go 7 days in a row and you don't do it, don't kick yourself to the curb and go, "You know what? I'm going to start that, January 1st. I'm going to restart that. That's going to be my New Year's resolution because that's also not what it's about. It's about, okay, well, I fell off the bandwagon for 7 days or 21 days, but I'm going to start right now, not in an hour, not in tomorrow, not on Monday, but right now. And that's really where that change comes in is starting now versus planning to start later, because that's when procrastination can just really take over and everything goes downhill and nothing happens.
Totally, totally. And on that kind of note, also with just going ahead and doing it and putting one foot in front of the other and just trying, that's also where a coach or you can really be helpful in providing that extra layer of accountability or the kick in the butt to get back on that bandwagon.
Yes.
So, how can people find you? How can they connect with you after this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am online everywhere. My main website is angelaj4.com. And that is where people can go to find everything. I have my books. I have all of my digital marketing work, all my social media accounts. I absolutely love Twitter. It's my favorite social
Me
media.
too.
Yes, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I've had ups and downs, but that is my platform. I love it. So
Love
if you want to get in touch with me on social media, I highly recommend Twitter. I am at A421. And I always respond. I'm on there all the time. So just tweet to me. I'll love it.
it. That's awesome. Thank you so much for carving out the time for us today, Angela.
Thank you.
Really gave us so much actionable advice, which I super appreciate it. And I know the listeners do too. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. And guys, make sure to tweet her.
Yes. Thanks so much. This is fantastic.
Awesome.